Welcome to my Wellness Rewired, Hacking Women's Health. Join Larissa and Malerie as they explore biohacking tips for women based on the latest science and research available today. Let them help you unlock your best self. It's time to hack smarter, not harder, together.
Hello. We are so excited to be here today with you guys to talk about sleep. This is not only the ultimate biohack for women, it is a foundational need that we have in order for anything else that we do for our health and wellness and longevity to even matter. So, today we are going to talk about why prioritizing sleep can transform your energy, your mood, and your health. And then we're going to have a special focus on how it ties into cortisol levels and your body's natural circadian rhythm. We'll also talk about, a few things that surprised us along the way in our research for this, a few questions from the community, and then actionable steps that you can take starting tonight.
So some of the key takeaways that we found that why it's important for women specifically is that I actually didn't know this, that women need 20 more minutes of sleep than men. And I was like, I didn't know that at all because I feel like in my relationships, I'm usually sleep less than my counterpartner. So technically women
Hmm.
need 20 more minutes of sleep because of they often get their sleep pattern often gets disrupted, whether it's kids coming in at night, whether you have babies, whether you have perimenopause and menopause issues or pregnancy and all the different stages in life, women's sleep often gets disrupted. And so they need 20 more minutes than men, which I
So
didn't
I
know.
think that this also has to do with the fact that we are more less resilient to stress, like we're more
Mhm.
susceptible to stress. I feel like these must be tied together, right?
Yeah.
Because we're more susceptible to stress and then typically we need more sleep. And
Yeah.
that just it seems like there has to be a connection.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I didn't realize that
Yeah.
actually. That's another thing I didn't know is how stress impacts women so much differently than men. And
Yeah.
that would
It's
make sense that it
crazy.
impacts our sleep as well. And it
Yeah.
also, because sleep is so important, it also affects our mental health. So women who have less sleep have increased issues like anxiety or depression, and it can exacerbate insomnia or what you have, Mallory, the restless leg syndrome. Sleep helps that
Yes.
recover. So if you don't have that, all of those things also heighten. And it could also I just told this my son is in wrestling and he has to make weight, so it's funny. He normally is underweight and now he's in the class where he's trying to stay in that weight class. And so I was telling him, I was like, you need to get sleep every single night because that helps you maintain weight. That's a thing I did not know is quality sleep helps you prevent chronic issues like heart disease, diabetes, and weight
Hmm.
gain, which I did not know that until we did this. And so I would pass this forward onto my my son, and he's like, "I get sleep," and I'm like, "Okay, but are you getting enough?" But it's funny.
That's the
So,
question.
yeah, are you getting enough? So for us busy women who are trying to do our careers and be a full-time mom and a friend and a confidant, and we have to make sure we do self-care and we have to take care of ourselves and make sure we prioritize sleep. It's such a foundational skill and it's such a building block to so many things that we do, and all of our health is based around sleeping. So if we're not sleeping at night to recover and to really rejuvenate, then nothing we do works. It's like band-aiding it to get through the day, but it's not really fixing it or helping us live a longer, healthier life.
Yeah.
Studies show that like women who sleep, talking about the scary part of this now, women who sleep 5 hours or less per night are twice as likely to develop hypertension compared to getting 7 hours of sleep. Just two
Which is
hours
like
less a
high
night.
blood pressure, right? Is what
Mhm.
hypertension is.
Yes. And the cortisol.
Right.
And reducing sleep by 90 minutes nightly for 6 weeks can increase insulin resistance by up to 12%, raising type
Mm,
2 diabetes risk in women.
that's crazy. That's just
Yeah.
6 weeks. Like,
Yes.
think about the times, like, I'm thinking about, like, when I had, my daughter, my last, like, with all 3 of my kids for that matter, right? And how much sleep you miss. And that's a very specific time, but it explains so much.
But it's for still a long period of time, though, even if
Yeah.
during your pregnancy, 9 months. Like, that is and this study was after 6 weeks. Can you imagine not
Yeah.
getting good sleep for 9 months?
Or for 10 years, because that's
Or
how
for
long it's
10
been since I've had a great sleep.
Oh, that's so sad, Mallory.
I know, right? Okay, not the whole time, but you know what I mean. It's very tumultuous. And so this research has been very eye-opening for sure.
Well, it validates how you felt, right?
Yes, absolutely.
'Cause like, when I was having kids, I definitely felt like I did not sleep for years, like, because I had my kids so close together, and so
Oh,
I
yeah.
hadn't I was pregnant, had a baby, 9 months later, 8 months later, I had another baby, no, I was pregnant. No, I got pregnant. 8 months later, I got pregnant, and then I went through the whole
Yeah.
cycle all over again, and so I felt like I literally didn't sleep for 3 years.
Yeah, that tracks. That really tracks.
But it's important. Sleep is definitely a must-have for all of your body to rejuvenate, to replenish itself. And was listening, and this doctor, he used analogy. I'm going to steal analogy. You're usually the analogy person, but
Yes.
I love this analogy, and it made so much sense in my mind. Um, that when you go to Disneyland, there's all sorts of magic that happens during the day, and you're busy doing all this stuff. But Disneyland closes, and everyone leaves, and there's a whole nother set of crew. There's a whole nother people that come in at night and gets it all prepared and ready for the next day. They clean up everything, they
Yeah.
take out the trash, and they just get it ready for the magic to happen all over again the next day. And you don't see all of that, but that happens when people aren't at the park. And so I thought that was such a good analogy. That's sleep, because sleeping, even though you just feel like your brain is turning off, but so many processes in your body are recovering or rejuvenating to prepare you to handle the stress and life, journeys the next day. And if you don't have that sleep time that's consistent and long enough, then you're not really prepared for the next day. And so you're constantly fighting or putting band-aids on it to fix it, to maintain, just to get through that day without actually living your best self.
Man, that is such a fantastic analogy for
I
what
know.
sleep really does. There's a night crew that's got to come in and clean
Clean up,
things up and do some
uh,
repairs, right? Like,
and help all your systems and functions work well.
well, especially like as we look forward to like, midlife, looking at menopause and things like the chronic poor sleep. Women who are getting poor sleep chronically in that phase of life face a 75% higher risk of cardiovascular events like heart attacks or strokes later in life. That's a pretty scary thought right there.
Well, it's so large. That's such a
Yeah.
large percentage of people that are impacted by it, women who are impacted by that.
Yeah, that's insane. And I will say, like the last, I had a period of time over the holidays where I was not able to, I was not sleeping. I was having restless sleep, the restless leg syndrome, like we talked about. And I had not experienced that kind of interrupted sleep, low quality sleep. I think ever, well, I mean, probably during pregnancy. I feel like it was a lot like that, like in your final trimester, right? But for me to actually be working very hard at getting good sleep and to not be able to was an eye opening experience. And I can really see how these statistics would be true based on how I felt in that like 6 week period where I was having a hard time sleeping. I felt terrible. I felt like a totally different person.
Well, you get mood swings, you get brain fog, like, you get skin issues.
And just like fatigue, and you can feel sore muscles don't recover as quickly. It's everything. It's system-wide issues,
You
right?
don't feel like you're being as productive as you could have been.
Everything's exhausting.
Yeah.
Yep.
And your patience is gone. When you have little kids, you're like, "Patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue."
Yeah, the capacity is definitely very low. There's like a permanent eye twitch.
But when you're rested,
Uh,
all of those hiccups in life, or all those daily stressors in life, you can handle when you're rested and you're recovered.
yeah, yeah, now I'm recovered. It was low iron, FYI, just a total other side tangent. And when I realized and took iron supplements and it started to work and I was able to sleep again, I feel like a whole new person. It's
Wow.
amazing to feel like myself again. So,
Yeah, that's
Yay
great.
for sleep. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the science behind why sleep matters, because this was something that I was researching heavily while I was trying to figure out what was going on with me, and it's actually been very cool because I think that's part of the reason why I feel so good right now. I think I got on iron supplements, but at the same time, I really focused in on the role of cortisol in your system and the importance of the circadian rhythm. So these we're not going to go crazy into these today, by the way, because we could talk about this all day long. Let's be real. Like this, there's
We
so
can
much information out there on sleep, so many studies, so much reference material, so many other specialists who have spent their careers studying this. We're just your gal pals having a drink of coffee and having a chat, right? But let me just give you, in everyday women's terms, really my understanding of this. So, sleep restores your body, right? It consolidates your memories, it regulates your hormones, and typically you need 7 to 9 hours nightly. This is bio individual. Not everybody, not all women need 9. Some need 7, some need 8. It just, we're all kind of somewhere in that range. That's just a safe range to assume. But quality matters as much as quantity, if not more. So you'll want to aim for deep, uninterrupted cycles. And as a quick recap, you have basically 3 cycles. You have light sleep, you have deep sleep, and you have REM sleep. And they do different things for your body and mind. Light sleep, actually, you need a certain amount of that for memory retention and things like that. Deep sleep is more for your body recovery, healing, those sorts of things. Whereas REM sleep is really for your mind and for like emotional capacity, emotional regulation, that sort of thing, right? So, the thing that I didn't know in doing all this research is I always thought that cortisol was a bad thing. We've talked about this before, where I always thought cortisol is your stress hormone and you want as little of that as possible. That's what I thought. Turns out that's not the case. Really, you just don't want to have too much cortisol. Chronically high cortisol is where you get into the chronic stress situation, which we've covered in the past. But you want to have the right level of cortisol because cortisol is basically, it follows a natural rhythm kind of in tandem with your circadian rhythm, where you want to have peak cortisol levels in the morning. It energizes you, and it also sets the timer for your melatonin production in your body as well. So you want to have high cortisol in the morning, and then it dips low at night to allow for restful sleep, which is when melatonin takes over, and then you have a restful night of sleep. And so chronic stress keeps cortisol levels elevated at the wrong times of day, in the afternoons, evening, nighttime, making it harder to fall asleep. You wake up more times and you have less deep sleep. So that's where it becomes problematic. For women, this can definitely worsen during hormonal shifts. And that kind of creates this vicious cycle of fatigue, which adds to your stress. And
yeah,
so then it's just
yeah.
this terrible cycle you get stuck in. And so, um, really optimizing your circadian rhythm is kind of how you manage your cortisol levels, which then in turn helps you sleep better. So it's all a very fascinating web. It's really what I would call it.
It is definitely a web. That's a good way to word it.
Yeah, they all interact. And so then you're like, we don't need this. Get it out of here. Get that cortisol out of here. And you're like, no, you actually need that.
Yep.
And as for somebody who was also at this time having an energy crisis, that's when I realized how much I needed to have my cortisol at good levels during the day and have it drop correctly at night so that my body can regulate. And then I'm way more energetic now and I'm sleeping great. And I just could not be happier about it, honestly.
Yeah, the circadian rhythm, it's interesting how all interplays with each other. If your circadian rhythm is off kilter, then it puts your sleep patterns off kilter. And so that's why you got to be careful about the rhythm.
Right? And so it's all about rituals, which means that it's the perfect time to talk about how we build the protocols that will make all of the difference in how you actually sleep better.
Yeah.
And so these are not like 47-step routines we're talking about. They're just the 10 out of 10 things that we have both used that have made a huge difference. And I swear by them myself. So the first one, okay, let's talk about this. We're just going to talk about 6 optimal things that you can do today to sleep better. And the first one is to lock in your wake up and your sleep times like they are sacred.
Ooh.
You're going to wake up and you're going to go to sleep at the same time, plus or minus 30 minutes every day. And yes, guys, even the weekends. It's a painful one to say, but it's important. Okay. Because this is the number one most powerful way to set your circadian rhythm, to keep that going in the right place. And if you do it for 2 weeks, just try it for 2 weeks, you're going to feel like a totally new woman.
And the second one, Dr. Huben talks about like getting light within the first 90 minutes of waking up. You need to get outside, and he calls it the morning light sledgehammer. So you get outside and it wakes up your cortisol at the right time. It triggers your serotonin and it sets melatonin to start activating 14 to 16 hours later. And if you go outside, then it goes into your eyes. Or if people live in cold areas, there's a light box that you can get. But even if it's dark and cloudy, you're still getting that in the air. So even if it's rainy or
Yeah.
it's outside, if go on the overhang and go outside, and if you consistently do that, it will be the single biggest mood and energy booster you can do to upgrade and to get yourself started and activated, more so than caffeine.
Yeah, these were the two things that I started with when my sleep was a mess and I was a mess.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is I was trying to fix my sleep, but I didn't have any energy. I hadn't had energy for months, and I was trying to figure out why. And it turns out my circadian rhythm was just out of whack. And so I started to do these two things, and I would say within a week, I was feeling notably better. And now that I've been doing it for a couple of months, huge difference. These
Yeah.
things are game changers, and it's so simple. They're like, just go outside and look at the bright sky. Like, you don't look directly into the sun, right? I don't want to blind yourself or anything, but like,
Yeah.
just get some sunlight in your eyes without sunglasses. I love it because I take my dog out to go potty, and I go out with him and I just stand out there for a few minutes and just in warmer weather, I'm going to start grounding while I do that. It's too cold right now. I'm being a baby. Of course, I could do it, but that's going to be my plan. But it's been very enjoyable, and I've noticed a huge boost in my energy during the day.
Yeah, because it's resetting yourself. So wake up at the same
Yeah.
time every day, go outside and get some light protons in your eyes first thing. And
Yep.
then,
And they say like at least to shoot for 10 to 30 minutes. Um, I usually am walking my kids to the bus stop anyway, so that really helps. So, but if
naturally, right?
not, like
It's in
create
your
a ritual,
routines.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, create a routine that works for you. Go out there and drink your morning cup of coffee or your cup of tea, or go for a morning walk. Getting outside is always just makes you feel better anyway, but like this really does have gigantic benefits for sleep and energy. So the next thing is to set a caffeine curfew. And I know that this is going to hit the soft spot for a lot of people because this was a hard one for me, but you need to have no caffeine after 1, 2 p.m. at the latest. I do after 1 p.m., nothing after 1 p.m. So, caffeine has about a 6-hour half-life for most women. Some have longer, some have slightly shorter, but one afternoon cup of coffee can, equal elevated cortisol levels that are keeping you wired and hard to sleep until midnight even. That could be alone something that could be affecting your sleep cycle.
And I'm super sensitive to caffeine. So if I have caffeine, I'll go to sleep at my normal time right away. And then I'll wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and I cannot go back to sleep. And I have insomnia.
Mm,
So it's interesting how caffeine affects different people and how it interrelates to their system, right? For me, caffeine's a hard no. Even though if I want it because I got poor sleep and I want it to give me that boost, that fake boost, it works against me, and then I have insomnia, and then it's just dragging on my poor sleeping into another night.
This one was interesting because I've relied so heavily on caffeine over the last, as a parent of young kids, like caffeine's your savior. And so I was like really hesitant to cut off my caffeine consumption because it was a crutch, and I was afraid of taking away the crutch. I was like, I'm gonna fall. But I did, and with the combination of getting the morning sunlight and letting your routine bedtimes and wake up times, and then cutting off the caffeine, I have not had less energy. That's the thing. I've actually had more energy following these tips than I ever did solely existing on caffeine. So I'm
Oh,
just
that's
saying it's
good.
worth trying.
Yeah. I'm like, "Ooh, that's good. That's a selling point just to try it out just for that alone."
Yeah, I did not expect that. That's the crazy thing. Like today, like you record in the evenings a lot, and so a lot of times I was dragging. But I haven't had any caffeine since 11 a.m. this morning, and I feel more wide awake and have more energy than I used to. And I would be drinking caffeine while we were recording,
Yeah.
which I'm a little bit sad to admit.
It's several previous podcasts, there may or may not have been caffeine involved.
Early on. At least it
Or
wasn't wine, guys. I count that as a win.
the more we learn, the more we grow.
Right.
So another trick that you could actually add into your routine is sleep in a cooler room. Which for me, you immediately when you think you want to get in a warm, cozy bed, you want to snuggle up, and you want to turn up the heater. But really, for the ideal sleep situation to help your sleep go into that deep state. It's really should be sit between 60 and 70, 67. I'm sorry, 60 to 67 degrees. And I was like, whoo, that is cold.
That's so cold because typically we're
Yeah.
sleeping at like 70 degrees, sometimes
Yeah.
69. And the idea is that it's not that if you're too cold to sleep, right, you can't sleep. So you can be in a cozy bed, with a comfy blanket and warm in your bed, but you want the ambient room temperature to be colder and you sleep better. Another optional thing that you can do here is to like take a hot shower or a hot bath a couple hours, 1 to 2 hours before bed, or get in the sauna 1 to 2 hours before bed if that's an option for you. And what that does is it actually causes your core body temperature to drop after that extreme heat. And so then that, leads to you actually sleeping better and feeling more sleepy. So, interesting fact.
And I love that this helps perimenopause and menopause cut their night wakings by 50 to 80%.
That's insane.
So just lowering the temperature in your room could severely cut back like all the hiccups you might have sleeping at night when you're on menopause or perimenopause issues, hormonal issues.
Yeah, especially if you add in the hot shower or the hot bath with it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
And it's comforting. Like, it's nice to get in and then go to bed. It lowers your core body temperature and it will make you fall asleep quicker.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, next one is the evening cortisol dump and magnesium stack. Now, we've already talked about magnesium at length, and this is probably the first thing I ever did before I was like working on my sleep, right? But doing like a 5-minute brain dump in a journal, call it like a worry download. And then when you do that, you also take magnesium. Specifically for sleep, you want a form of magnesium that crosses the blood-brain barrier, and those forms would be magnesium glycinate, magnesium threonate, or magnesium biglycinate. 300 to 400 milligrams of those strains specifically help with sort of your cortisol levels, relaxation, and sleep quality. So I think the combo of those two is a pretty powerful, like, 1-2 punch.
Yeah, and you could do a brain dump, or you could do gratitude, depending on what mood you're feeling. Like if
Yes.
you are not in that space where you need to unload, then you could also just be positive and just reflect on your days, like what went well today, or what is making your heart happy.
Exactly. And the way that I view this one is I really think of it as creating a bedtime ritual that just helps you wind down and prepare to sleep, right? Which
Yeah,
is where gratitude's a fantastic one. Maybe some days you're especially stressed. That's when you do the brain dump, the worry
yeah,
download. It's just kind of feeling what you need.
yeah. All right, and then the next one is the lights. In the evenings, turn off the lights. If ideally in a scientific world, if we could have floor lighting, it'd be great to have floor lighting, and so the lights come up from the floor instead of above our heads, because then it tricks your brain, and it makes it feel like it's daytime. So in the evening, dim your lights, or if you have red bulbs. Now with all the fancy smart lights, it's great because you can have a light bulb in there and then you can change the color depending on the day with just a voice command. So like on my lights, I could call it and I could say, change it to red. So red is supposed to be softening And if you are on social media or on a phone or on a screen, you could have the blue light blockers, glasses on your, to block it from going into your brain. But it's
Yeah.
really to really help preserve melatonin and keep that production up. You want to have no or little lights in the evening to really get your brain wired down to go to bed. And really, theoretically, a lot of people say not even have your phone or TV in your room. And a lot of people,
Yeah.
that's not the case because you don't really want that light. So you really should at least shut down the phone and the computer. Some people leave their phone outside of their bedroom. I have really good self control, so it's easy for me to walk away from that. But some people, it's like they're addicted, they're on it all the time. And so
Yeah.
that light can disrupt your getting your melatonin, getting prepared for your wind down and for your sleep. So just be aware of that and you can make a choice on what to do for your body. But some people leave it outside of their door.
That's very true. Not me. So if you're only going to do three of these, power six that we just gave you, make it your consistent wake up time, your morning light, and your magnesium at bedtime, because those three alone are going to outperform any fancy supplement stack you could find on the market. I can promise you that. So give all six a try, but we're really saying those three are kind of your key, have made the biggest difference. But next, what I want to talk about is the research surprises and busted assumptions. Because I feel like every time we jump into a topic and we start to research it for an episode, we go into it with assumptions and come out with a completely different understanding. So,
That's a
what was
pattern.
something that you were surprised to learn?
This surprised me. Women are more likely to have vivid dreams and nightmares because of hormonal fluctuations. And it's not just them being dramatic. And I never associated your hormones with vivid dreams or nightmares because there's definitely sometimes where I'm like, I had a bad dream or not even a bad dream. I just had a vivid dream that I felt like I was there and in it. And I never realized that is really your body's way of telling you that your hormones are out of whack.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy because for years I had recurring nightmares about spiders. Realistic, like I'm laying in bed and sleeping and I wake up and there's spiders crawling towards me and I can't move like crazy. And it wasn't just one time, I had them for years where I would wake up screaming,
Was it
actually.
after you watched Harry Potter?
No, weirdly enough. I mean, maybe that was a while ago. I don't think so. There's
I'm just
also the
teasing you.
spider scene in Lord of the Rings, which is super creepy, and
Oh,
that did
yeah.
freak me out.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
don't know what it was. There's a lot of people who talk about like meanings, especially recurring dreams. But I do recall that it was times that my hormones were definitely way out of whack. So
yeah. And I think when people are right after surgery, like I know when I had some surgeries, when you're on all that, your body's out of whack with all the timing and all the medication and different things, it throws that off too. So that could throw your hormones out of whack, which is why people
yeah,
often get vivid dreams or have bad dreams from medication. So it's interesting what can throw your hormones out
interesting.
of whack and produce
Yeah,
bad
mine was in
or
the
vivid
middle of
dreams.
having babies, right? And so I really feel like I
They
knew
were
my
out of whack.
hormones were crazy. Okay, so here's an assumption that I made that is not true that I thought was very interesting. I assumed that getting enough sleep only had to do with I assumed it only had to do with the quantity of sleep, right? If you got 8 hours of sleep, whether you went to bed at 9 p.m. or 1 a.m., as long as you got 8 hours, like if you had the ability to sleep in the next day, then that was still a great night of sleep. And what have learned is that that is not true. It is actually important. The reason why you want to go to bed at the same time every night is because your circadian rhythm determines when you're going to get the most. This is my understanding, is it determines when you're going to get the most amount of deep sleep. And that's usually early in the night. So when you go to bed at like, let's say you go to bed at 10:30 every night, your body's circadian rhythm is operating that way. And so you're going to get the bulk of your deep sleep at 10:30, like starting at 10:30 when you first fall asleep and you get into a deep sleep state. I cannot talk tonight. then you're going to get it. And so if you miss that window of time where you're usually, that's your cycle and that's when your body's going to do the deep sleep, you don't get it later. So you could sleep in, but it's not going to be as good of quality of sleep because you've missed your deep sleep window.
Because Dr. Hyman, a couple of the doctors, like, they say that you really have that crucial sleep before midnight, so you have to make sure you go to sleep before midnight every night just to get that recovery sleep because it doesn't happen after midnight.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? And I've seen
Yeah,
it in action because now my bed tracks my sleep. And so I've seen when I like stay up too late and my deep sleep is terrible that night. And every
right.
time I go to sleep on time, it's right there and it's beautiful. And I'm like, look, I got my deep sleep. But if I miss it, then I missed it. And so, and then I listened to Dr. Huberman and we've listened to, and I've read, we've done all this research and I'm like, oh my gosh, it adds up. But that was a busted assumption for sure.
And that just proves that you really need to protect your routine and protect your sleep time so that you can feel the very best you can the next day and keep moving forward in
Yep.
recovery or
It's
rejuvenating yourself
so
at night.
true.
That's so interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Um, I think another assumption that a lot of people have is that you can't work out at night. And a lot of people say to not have, like, a heavy workout, and so all this time people don't work out at night or because they feel, like, revved up, right? But that
Yeah.
actually was a myth that's busted if you do something light, like if you go on an evening walk after dinner, that actually helps lower, like, lower your blood pressure and your glucose after eating, and so it kind of balances out your hormones. So a light walk after dinner, whatever, and then getting ready for bed, that actually could help. Or light yoga, doing something that's relaxing and light and not necessarily an intense workout, but you could still get something in on days that you're busy. You could still get something light in right in the evening before you go to bed, and it won't
Yeah.
interrupt your sleep.
And it could be beneficial.
That can be
Yeah,
beneficial.
that's true. Hmm. So another one that I learned that was surprising was I thought that naps were a great thing, like daytime napping.
Yeah.
Anytime would be fine, right? But it turns out that if you nap longer than 20 or 30 minutes in the daytime, it can actually tank your nighttime sleep because it's going to mess with. Apparently, there's a thing called sleep pressure. And if you get enough sleep during the day, then you're not going to feel the pressure to be, tired enough to go to sleep at your usual time. So that you'll get to your usual 10:30 or 11 bedtime and just not be tired at all. You'll be wide awake. And
Hmm.
so, too long of a daytime nap can actually mess up your sleep cycle and interrupt your natural rhythms.
I've never been a napper, so that makes me glad.
I'm pretty sure I could sleep at any time.
I can sleep anywhere. If it's after 9 o'clock,
Oh,
I can sleep
if
anywhere.
it's after 8, Larissa, then you could go to sleep anytime. Let's be real. You are the master sleeper. We are dubbing Larissa the master sleeper.
This past weekend, Weston had a wrestling tournament and it went all day, and they didn't get back from the bus until 9. And one of the parents had done a barbecue for the kids, but they didn't realize it was going to go. They thought it was going to be done at like 6, and they'd barbecue the kids' dinner, and then they'd all go home right after a long day at the tournament. It ended up they did not get home until 9 o'clock, but they'd already bought all the food and cooked and all that stuff. So it's like, well, you can't say no, right? So he went to this dinner, this barbecue with all of his friends and all the other wrestlers, and it literally killed me, Mallory. I had to stay up until 11, not even stay up. I picked him up at 11:15. So that means I didn't get
Oh,
home until 11:30. That means I didn't get into bed and do my routine until like 11:45, 12 o'clock at night. I
oh
haven't
my
done that in
gosh.
years. That's been a long time since I've done that. I do not see midnight often.
New Year's is just not a thing for you.
Well, it is if in California, I can celebrate the New York New
The
Year's, the
East
East Coast.
Coast.
Yeah, it's
That's
the
what we do
perfect
with
New
our
Year's.
kids. Oh, that's so funny.
You do it with your
Oh
kids,
my
I just
gosh.
do it for myself.
You know what? This year, I'm on your team, Larissa. I agree.
I just feel better. I turn into a pumpkin after,
Yep.
8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm
But you
ready
know
to
what? You naturally feel those rhythms very strongly, and you have always kept them. I remember when we would come and visit, and we would all lay down to watch a movie, and it would probably be like 6 or 7 at night, and you would never make it to the end of that movie. You were always asleep.
If it is after 8 o'clock, there is no watching TV. Like, don't put on it. Well, actually, I take that back. If it's like an action pack, where you're just like, or scared or something like that will keep me awake. But most
Yeah.
of the time, I cannot do anything like that. I'll fall right asleep.
Oh, it's so true. It's okay. That's actually superpower. So,
Now that we're at this age, it's a superpower. But when I was younger, it
yep.
was just lame.
We all had one of those friends. It was you didn't because it was you. Okay, I think we have a couple questions from the community. I think we got a time for one or two. So let's see. I'm perimenopausal and wake up hot and anxious. How can I manage cortisol spikes?
Oh, that one's easy. Keep your room
Hmm.
cool between 60 and 67 degrees. Let's see, what did you avoid caffeine after
Avoid
noon.
caffeine. Yep.
Mhm.
Ooh, and another one would be like breathing exercises, right?
Oh,
Because when I'm feeling a little bit stressed, like it's just been a crazy day or whatever, then I will do breathing exercises, focusing on the exhale, right? Fully extending your lungs and then slowly letting it out. And do that a few times. And then you kind of do yoga nidra is great for that, right? Where you're kind of train like lowering your cortisol manually and training your body to go to sleep. It's very effective. So
I should probably do that more.
I do that a lot, but I've also been
Yeah.
doing the trying to up my HRV, and those actually help that too.
Ugh.
So, but it also helps the stress as a side effect.
As a side note on the HRV, I was at 55 last night.
What?
I
I'm
knew
so
you would be
jealous.
jealous.
Yeah. Yeah, 45 still my highest.
Yeah, I got 55 last night. I was like, "Woo!" I was like, "That's
I'll
exciting."
see 70 no matter what. It doesn't matter. I don't care what I have to do. I will see 70.
All right, another question from our community. How do I fix my messed up sleep schedule after late nights with kids? I feel like it could be kids or husbands or roommates or whatever the late night situation can be. But what do you
Anybody keeping you up or waking you up, right?
Yeah, you're the one with kids, Mallory. What do you think? What works for you?
So this still very much does happen to me. And so you really have to stick to your consistent wake up time, even on the weekends, and get that light in the morning. You may be exhausted from being woken up 6 times in a night, but you get up at the same time they usually do. You go out there and get some morning light, and it resets your circadian rhythm. And so then the
Mm,
next night, you're just banking on sticking to your schedule as much as possible so that you can get that restorative sleep that you need when you have
mhm.
the opportunity. Not ideal, that's life.
Yeah. Life with little kids, right?
And it does catch up. Like there are good nights, and so, but if your like what this can do, all of these interruptions is it can get your circadian rhythm off kilter, right? So you're trying to keep your rhythm on so that when you have the opportunity to sleep, you're ready, you're prepped. So that's a good one. That's a good question. Okay. We're going to try not to keep this one too long. So remember, sleep is your number one biohack and nothing else works if your foundation is cracked. Aim for 7 to 9 hours every night. You know your body best. You may err towards the 7 hour, you may err towards the 9 hour, but just that's kind of a range to work with. Skimping on it is going to double your hypertension risk. It's going to spike your insulin resistance. It's going to raise cardiovascular events, um, especially as you age. So you got to protect it like your future health depends on it because it actually does.
And your circadian rhythm runs the show. Make sure that you are consistent with your wake up time and go to sleep time every single day, even on the weekends. And this one habit alone is the fastest way to balance your cortisol, to boost your mood, to deepen your sleep. And it's more powerful than any supplement. So it really, your circadian rhythm is free, easy, and dependable once you set it.
Absolutely. And to that end, morning sunlight is non negotiable. Get 10 to
Mhm.
30 minutes of bright outdoor light, or I think there are like light boxes you can get that are like 10,000 lux boxes if you're in a place where you can't get natural light. but you need it within 90 minutes of waking. And this is going to correctly time your cortisol peak. It's going to trigger serotonin and set your melatonin production for 14 to 16 hours later. And so this is your biggest energy and mood upgrade, period.
And kill the afternoon caffeine and cool your sleep environment. So no caffeine after 1 or 2 p.m. And it lingers in women specifically longer. So make sure you drop that off early and then cool your room to 60 to 67 degrees. And it will slash nighttime cortisol and it will cut your wake ups, especially if you're in perimenopause or menopause. And it will dramatically increase your deep sleep.
Yes. And then don't forget, do your evening cortisol dump. Either worry download through your journal or do some gratitude practice. Take your magnesium and be sure to dim the lights to protect your melatonin.
All right. Remember, ladies, our mission is simple: to help you truly know your body and own your health, one biohack at a time. Our family has a health curveball that pushed us deep into this journey. And wow, we've learned a lot and it has changed everything for us and our family. So now we're here to share it with as many women as possible. If this episode lit a spark for you or made you think of an incredible woman in your life, please share it, hit like, spread the glow, and bring some real health inspiration to your friends, your mom, your sisters. And we're in this together, learning and growing every step of the way. So until next time, keep taking charge of your health. We're right here with you.
That
Take the water into your cells will incorporate the water. Oh, I'm falling flat, Mallory. And
just choked on my own spit. Hang on.
Yes, I am recording right now. What are you doing?
We are recording right now.
And now you're on the edits. Now you're on the bloopers. You're gonna have to cut this out. Love you.
All right, you wellness rock stars. That's a wrap on this episode of My Wellness Rewired, Hacking Women's Health. We've had a blast dishing out the hacks and laughs, but hold up, let's keep it real.
Yep, we are not doctors. We are just sharing our biohacking adventures and learning right alongside you. Nothing we say is medical advice, so always, always check with your healthcare provider before trying any new wellness tricks.
Absolutely. This podcast is all about inspiration and entertainment, not prescriptions. So join our Facebook group for more sassy wellness vibes. Catch you next time.